Welcome back to the Mountain Takes. I'm Isaac. Two mountains. Two climbers who believed their experience made them invincible. Two guides who watched them die because they refused to believe that confidence and competence are not the same thing. Sit tight, because now I'm going to explain what actually happened. It was August 3, 2016, at Camp 3 on K2 at 7,400 meters. Marcus Stewart, 38, an American climber from Colorado, was preparing for his final push toward the summit. He had summited Denali, Kilimanjaro, Aconcagua, and Elbrus. He had attempted Everest twice and summited once. He believed that experience on lower mountains translated to mastery on higher ones. His guide was Hussain Ahmed, 32, a Pakistani Sherpa with 8 K2 summits and 20 years of high-altitude experience. Hussain understood that experience was not the same as invincibility. Marcus did not. Marcus had arrived at K2 base camp on July 10, with confidence that bordered on arrogance. He had told his climbing club back home that he would summit K2 in under 3 weeks, a timeline that was compressed by a week compared to standard protocol. Other climbers at base camp had warned him that K2 was fundamentally different from the mountains he had previously summited. K2's fatality rate was 1 in 4. For every 4 people who summit, 1 dies. Marcus had responded that he was not the type to become a statistic. By Camp 2, Hussain noticed that Marcus was moving too quickly through his acclimatization rotations. He was skipping designated rest days. He was pushing harder and faster than the standard schedule allowed. Hussain had documented his concerns. Marcus had dismissed them. Marcus said that his body adapted quickly and that slow climbing was for inexperienced mountaineers. Hussain said that K2 didn't care about experience. It only cared about altitude and time. Marcus said Hussain was being overly cautious. By Camp 3 on August 3rd, Marcus's oxygen saturation was 58% at rest, dangerously low. The weather forecast showed a brief window opening in 18 hours. Marcus wanted to leave immediately for a summit push. Hussain recommended waiting another day for better conditions. Marcus said the window was small and he wasn't going to waste it. He said he had taken time off work and needed to summit now. Hussain said that mountains didn't care about work schedules. Marcus said he had summited 4 other peaks. He knew what he was doing. Do you see the pattern yet? A guide warning, a climber refusing, a mountain waiting. They left Camp 3 at 8 p.m. on August 3 for the push toward the summit. Marcus was moving aggressively, climbing fast, conserving energy only minimally. Hussain was moving behind him at a more controlled pace, watching Marcus's erratic movements with growing concern. By midnight, they were at approximately 7,900 meters. The weather was still holding, but the wind was beginning to increase. Hussain suggested slowing the pace. Marcus said they were making good time and needed to maintain momentum. By 3 a.m. on August 4th, they were at 8,200 meters. Marcus's movements were becoming uncoordinated. His breathing was labored and wheezy. Hussain checked his oxygen regulator. It was functioning correctly. The problem was not the equipment. The problem was Marcus's physiology. His body was breaking down at altitude despite his confidence that it wouldn't. Hussain told Marcus they needed to descend immediately. Marcus said they were too close to summit, less than 500 meters, and they would summit within 2 hours. Hussain said the weather was worsening and they had no time margin for error. Marcus kept climbing. At 5:30 a.m. on August 4th, Marcus reached approximately 8,400 meters, higher than he had ever been before. The view of the summit from that altitude was visible. Marcus believed he could see it. He believed victory was within reach. What he didn't understand was that at 8,400 meters on K2, you are completely dependent on your guide for accurate assessment of conditions. Your judgment at that altitude is not reliable. Your confidence is not based on reality. It is based on oxygen deprivation and brain damage. Hussain told Marcus that conditions were deteriorating rapidly. Wind was now gusting above 70 kilometers per hour. Visibility was dropping. The weather window was closing faster than expected. They needed to descend now. Marcus said he was continuing to the summit. Hussain said that if they continued, they would both die on the descent in a storm. Marcus said Hussain was being a coward. Hussain had heard this before from other climbers. He had learned that at this point, argument was useless. He made a decision. He told Marcus that he was descending now with or without him. He told Marcus that he would wait at Camp 3 for 6 hours. If Marcus didn't return by that time, Hussain would assume Marcus was dead and would not attempt a rescue. Hussain began descending at 5:45 a.m. on August 4th. Marcus continued ascending toward the summit. At approximately 7 a.m., Marcus reached the summit of K2 at 8,611 meters. He spent approximately 8 minutes on the summit, taking photos and filming video for his climbing club. Then he began his descent. But by this time, the weather had completely deteriorated. The storm that Hussain had predicted had arrived early. Visibility was almost zero. The fixed ropes were becoming difficult to locate in the whiteout conditions. Marcus was descending through sections of terrain he could not see. He was navigating by memory and by occasionally finding fixed ropes. At approximately 9:30 a.m., on a section of steep terrain known as the Descent Gully, Marcus lost the fixed rope. He was attempting to locate it by following what he believed was the correct direction. He was wrong. He stepped off exposed terrain. He fell approximately 40 meters into a crevasse. The fall was not visible to anyone. Nobody heard him. Nobody knew where he was. By the time Hussain reached Camp 3 at 12:15 p.m. on August 4th, Marcus still had not returned. Hussain waited the promised 6 hours. Marcus never appeared. A rescue search was organized. Marcus's body was located 3 days later in the crevasse where he had fallen. He had survived the initial fall but had died from injuries and hypothermia before rescue could reach him. Hussain survived and descended to base camp. He carried the guilt of leaving Marcus to summit alone. But Hussain also understood something Marcus never did. At extreme altitude, confidence is not competence. Hussain had done everything possible to keep Marcus alive. Marcus had refused to listen. It was May 12, 2017, at Camp 2 on Mount Annapurna at 21,000 feet. Alexandra Petrov, 35, a Russian mountaineer with 5 8,000er summits, was preparing for her final push toward the Annapurna summit. She had summited Kilimanjaro, Denali, Aconcagua, Elbrus, and Everest. She believed Annapurna would be her 6th, a straightforward climb that her experience made manageable. Her guide was Kharsang Sherpa, 29, with 12 years of high-altitude guiding and 7 Annapurna summits. Kharsang understood that Annapurna was statistically one of the 3 deadliest mountains on Earth. Alexandra did not believe statistics applied to her. Alexandra had arrived at Annapurna Base Camp on April 15th with confidence that bordered on dismissal. She had told other climbers at base camp that Annapurna was easier than Everest, and that her multiple summit experience made it routine. Other guides had warned her that Annapurna's danger came from avalanches and weather instability that were unpredictable even for experienced mountaineers. Alexandra had responded that she had trained extensively and that her body was stronger than statistics. Kharsang had documented her statements in his log. By Camp 1, Alexandra was moving aggressively through her acclimatization rotation. She wanted to summit within 7 days, faster than the standard timeline. Kharsang had recommended moving more slowly. Alexandra had said that slow climbing was unnecessary and that she would summit on her schedule. By Camp 2, Alexandra's oxygen saturation was 64% at rest. Concerning, but not immediately critical. The weather forecast showed potential for a summit window within 18 hours. Alexandra wanted to push for the summit that night. Kharsang looked at the forecast and saw something different than what Alexandra saw. The forecast showed clouds moving in from the south. The temperature was rising, which meant potential for instability in the snow layers. The wind patterns suggested a front moving in faster than the forecast suggested. Kharsang told Alexandra they should wait another day for better conditions. Alexandra said she didn't have time to wait. She said her work schedule didn't permit delays. Kharsang said mountains didn't care about work schedules. Alexandra said Kharsang was being overly cautious because he was Sherpa, and Sherpas were naturally conservative. They left Camp 2 at 7 p.m. on May 12th for the push toward the summit. Alexandra was moving faster than the standard pace. Kharsang was moving behind her at a controlled speed, watching her movements with increasing concern. By 11 p.m., they were at approximately 7,500 meters. The weather was beginning to change. The wind was increasing. The temperature was rising. Kharsang suggested slowing down. Alexandra said they were making good time. Do you understand what happens when confidence overrides caution at extreme altitude? By 2 a.m. on May 13th, they were at 8,000 meters. Alexandra's movements were labored. Her breathing was heavy, but she was still moving aggressively upward. Kharsang checked her oxygen regulator. It was functioning correctly. The problem was Alexandra's physiology breaking down under the extreme altitude, something her confidence had not prepared her for. Karsang told Alexandra they needed to turn around immediately. Alexandra said they were close to summit and would push through. Karsang said the weather was deteriorating and they had no time margin for survival if they continued. At 4:30 a.m. on May 13th, Alexandra was at approximately 8,050 meters. She could see the summit ridge ahead. She believed she would summit within 1 hour. What she didn't understand was that at 8,000 meters on Annapurna, visibility can change in seconds. Weather can deteriorate in minutes. She was navigating by vision and confidence. Both were about to betray her. Karsang told Alexandra that they were turning around now. Alexandra refused. She said she had come too far to turn back. Karsang said that if they continued, the weather would trap them above 8,000 meters and they would die. Alexandra said Karsang was being a coward. Karsang made a decision. He told Alexandra that he was descending now. He told her that he would wait at Camp 2 for 8 hours. If she didn't return, he would assume she was dead. Karsang began descending at 4:50 a.m. on May 13th. Alexandra continued ascending. At approximately 6:15 a.m., Alexandra reached the Annapurna summit at 8,091 meters. She spent approximately 5 minutes on the summit taking photos. Then she began her descent. But the weather had completely deteriorated. The storm that Karsang had predicted had arrived early. Visibility was nearly zero. The fixed ropes were difficult to locate. Alexandra was descending through sections she could not see. At approximately 8:30 a.m., on a steep snow face known as the descent ridge, the snowpack beneath her shifted. A slab avalanche, triggered by the rising temperature and wind loading that Karsang had predicted, broke free. Alexandra was caught directly in the slide. She was swept approximately 200 meters downslope before the avalanche decelerated and stopped. The impact injuries were severe. Alexandra was unconscious. She remained unconscious as her core temperature dropped in the extreme cold. She died from hypothermia within 30 minutes of the avalanche. Karsang reached Camp 2 at 10:15 a.m. on May 13th. Alexandra had not returned. Karsang waited the promised 8 hours. Alexandra never appeared. A rescue search was organized. Alexandra's body was found 2 days later on the descent ridge where the avalanche had carried her. Karsang survived and descended to base camp. He carried the guilt of leaving Alexandra to summit alone, but Karsang also understood something Alexandra never did. At extreme altitude, confidence is not competence. Karsang had done everything possible to keep her alive. Alexandra had refused to listen. "I'm Isaac from the Mountain Takes. 2 mountains. 2 guides who begged their clients to descend. 2 clients who refused to listen. K2 took Marcus Stewart because he believed his experience made him invincible. Annapurna took Alexandra Petrov for the exact same reason. Both guides survived. Both clients died. The mountain doesn't measure confidence. It only measures altitude and time.